blazing. We use painted rectangles to mark the trail. White paint for the main trail and blue paint for the side trail. Now I've selected a tree here which was in a nice location at the right-hand side of the trail, and it's got a good flat area at about eye level. So I have to prepare it first by scraping the bark. I take my brush and begin to paint. We're looking for a blaze that's 2 inches wide by 6 inches high and very rectangular in shape. You don't have to measure it, but it should be pretty close to the desired dimensions. These will generally last about 2 years, sometimes a little longer, sometimes not as long. Depends on how much weather they get and also on the type of tree. Some trees, like the poplars, don't hold paint very long at all. They seem to have a waxy or oily substance in the bark, which makes the paint peel off rather quickly. Well, they're good trees to avoid if you can. It doesn't hurt the tree. We're using latex paint, and it's never been shown to cause any damage to the tree. To paint a decent blaze, it takes a minute or two. You can't just slap the paint on in one stroke and have a decent blaze. You want to have nice straight sides, square corners, so that it looks like a rectangle and it looks unusual in the forest environment. That's what makes it stand out. There's a finished blaze that's pretty good. Also, when you're blazing, remember you should only try to paint in one direction at a time. Paint all through the section, then turn around and come back and paint blazes in the opposing direction. It's important to do this so that you get the blazes in the correct position as you're walking along the trail in one direction. In blazing the trail, keep in mind that when you're standing beside one blaze, it should be possible to see the next blaze down along the trail. This is important, especially in the fall of the year and in the winter, because the treadway sometimes becomes obscured, so people become very dependent on the blazes. When painting blazes, we try not to put them on stones. They tend to be too low on the ground and they get covered by snow or by fallen leaves in the autumn of the year. When you need a blaze and you don't have a tree in a convenient place to put it, then you can solve that problem by putting up a blaze board. Here's an example of one type, a piece of 2x4 screwed onto the top of a T-shaped fence post. And then the blaze, in this case a blue one, has been painted on the 2x4. Another way of placing a blaze when you're in open country and there are no trees is to put in a post, such as this cedar fence post, and then paint the blaze on the post. You'll see that this one also has been outlined with black to make it stand out on this light-colored post. That's called a tuxedo blaze. Where there's a distinct change of direction in the trail, we use a double blaze to indicate that, such as this one here. You'll notice that the one blaze is above the other, but the top one is offset toward the left. This indicates the trail is going to turn to the left just up ahead of us here. Don't try to paint a blaze on a tree that's too small. If the blaze is supposed to be 2 inches wide, then the tree has to be at least 2 inches wide. Here's a blaze indicating a turn to the right. And very shortly after that blaze, we see a confirmation blaze indicating that I've turned in the correct direction. Here's an example of a blue side trail blaze painted on a tree at the side of the trail. It's on the right side if possible, the same size as the main trail blaze, 2 inches by 6 inches. I'm standing at the end of a side trail where it meets the main trail. As you can see, the main trail heads on up the hill there and also goes off to the right. And so here's a place where we'd like to paint a T-blaze indicating the end of the side trail. There's the general outline of the blaze, but I have to do a little more work on it to finish it. We use the T shape at the end of a side trail to indicate symbolically that you're reaching the end of the side trail and a junction with another trail crossing. You notice that each of these blazes is the size of a standard Bruce Trail blaze, 2 inches wide by 6 inches high, or on the crossways one, 2 inches high by 6 inches wide. The space between them is also about 2 inches. I'm at a junction of the main trail and a side trail, and at a location like this we should mark that junction with a blue double side trail marker. We already have the main trail indicated as turning to the left here, but the side trail goes off to the right. So we should indicate that with a blue turn to the right. This is a pretty rough tree. I better scrape this bark first. Okay, there's the location where I'm going to paint my 2 blazes. Upper one and the lower one. We'll just fill these in. Once again, our blazes are standard size, making them 5 centimeters wide by 15 centimeters in height. Nice straight sides, square corners. You'll notice that I'm using a brush which is a 2-inch brush to make a 2-inch wide blaze. But if you use a standard 2-inch brush, it'll probably be a little bit too wide because, as you see, the bristles spread as you paint with it. So I have trimmed this brush down just a little bit, taken off a few of the bristles from the outside edges so that it's actually about 1 3/4 inches in width, and then when the bristles spread they make a nice 2-inch wide blaze. In blazing, some people find it convenient to use a template to help them get the right size. Here's an example of such a template, and you'll see that it matches very closely to the size of this white blaze which has been tuxedoed. If you place that template over top of it, paint your black outline around the outside, then you have a blaze that's the perfect size. What we have here is a tree that's at the junction of a side trail with the main trail, and at this location the main trail turns to the left as indicated by the white blazes at the top, and the side trail turns off to the right. So we now have a blue double blaze at the bottom indicating the right turn of the side trail, left turn of the main trail above it. In addition to blazes, the trail is also marked with signs. There are many signs available from Bruce Trail headquarters. We're going to deal with only the 2 most commonly used ones: the Access Appreciation sign and the Main Trail Diamond sign. Although the signs are painted on metal sign blanks, they'll be supplied to you mounted on pressure-treated plywood backing. This makes them much more resistant to vandalism. You'll find that it's a good idea to pre-drill your signs with a clearance hole at home before you go out in the field to install them. And now our number 10 screw goes right through the sign with little or no resistance. The diamond sign is placed on a tree or post directly above a trail blaze at intervals of approximately 1 per kilometer along the trail. We're mounting it using 2.5 inch by number 10 Robertson head screws with a washer under the head. And we screw this in until we have about 1 or 2 centimeters left clear so that the sign can move as the tree grows. The Access Appreciation sign is put up wherever hikers can gain access to the trail. This is typically at road crossings. This sign should be placed about 2.5 meters up in a prominent place on a tree. For this, you'll probably need the assistance of a ladder. I'm going to drill a pilot hole in this maple to make it easier to drive the screw in. For driving in our screws, we can use a screwdriver, a cordless electric drill, or the good old-fashioned brace and bit. There, that looks about right. As in all cases with our signs when they're on growing trees, we leave them a little bit loose so that the tree has room to grow. You can also come back within a year or two and unscrew the screws a little bit so that the tree has still more room to grow.